Okay, let's unpack this. Think about just, putting your phone down to charge. No more messing with cable trays.
Exactly. It sounds futuristic, but it's here. And it's a massive global market.
That's what we're diving into today, the global wireless chargers market, based on a pretty detailed 2025 report.
Yeah, we'll be looking at the data, the forecasts, all that stuff.
And our mission for you is basically to get you up to speed fast. We want you to understand the size of this market, how much it's expected to explode, who's involved, and where the action's really happening globally.
Right. So just as a starting point, for 2025, the estimate is around 7,800 million US dollars.
7.8 billion, that's already quite something.
It is. But hold on, because the projection for 2033, it's huge. We're talking USD 3,903.82 million.
Wow, okay. So nearly 35 billion.
Exactly. That's a compound annual growth rate, a DENGR of 20.60% between 2025 and 2033. That's not just growth, it's, well, rapid expansion.
Okay, 20.6% CAGR. That is definitely rapid. What's pushing this? What are the main drivers here?
Well, the biggest one is probably just how much we're using wireless charging in our everyday tech. Think smartphones, wearables.
Like smartwatches and earbuds.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And when the big companies, Apple, Samsung, when they build this into their main products, it really pushes adoption.
Makes sense. It normalizes it. Plus, there's the convenience factor, right? I mean, who likes tangled cables?
Nobody. That demand for just a simpler, cable-free way to charge things is definitely a big driver.
And it's not just phones and watches anymore, is it? You mentioned something else.
Right. EVs, electric vehicles. That's becoming a surprisingly big factor.
Ah, okay. How so?
Well, the need for wireless charging systems for EVs is growing. Think about just parking your car and having it charge. Tesla actually bought a company, Wiferian GmbH, back in August 2023. They specialize in wireless EV charging.
Interesting. So Tesla's betting on that too. That really shows it's moving beyond just personal gadgets.
Definitely. And speaking of personal tech, the report mentions Mophie. They're part of Zadji. Right.
Yeah. What about them?
In September 2022, they launched this Snap Plus wireless charging ecosystem. It pushes up to 15 watts.
Okay, 15 watts. Is that fast? What does that mean for, like, the average person?
It's pretty decent for most smartphones, gives you a respectable charging speed. But the key thing with their system was also charging multiple devices at once.
Ah, like your phone, your earbuds, maybe a watch, all on one pad.
Exactly. At home or even on the go. It just shows the demand for more versatile charging solutions.
Okay, so convenience, EVs, multi-device charging. It sounds like it's all systems go. But are there any, speed bumps, potential problems?
Yeah, there are a couple things. Cost is one.
Right. Wireless chargers tend to be pricier than the regular plug-in ones.
They do. And for people who are really watching their budget, that higher cost could definitely slow down how quickly they switch over.
Makes sense. Price sensitivity is always a factor. Anything else?
Efficiency and speed can sometimes be limitations.
How so?
Well, some wireless methods aren't quite as energy efficient as plugging in directly. And sometimes, depending on the tech and the device, it might charge a bit slower.
Okay, so maybe not always as fast or as green as a cable, at least for now.
Right. Improving that efficiency and speed is definitely something the industry is working on.
So challenges exist, but looking forward, what are the cool emerging trends? What should we be watching out for?
One really interesting thing is integration into furniture.
Like built into desks or nightstands.
Exactly. Imagine just putting your phone down on your bedside table and it starts charging. Seamless. Effortless.
Okay, that I like. No more fumbling for the cable in the dark. What else?
Automotive integration is another big one. Car makers putting wireless charging pads right into the center console or other spots in the car.
Oh yeah, that's becoming more common, isn't it? Super handy for passengers.
Definitely. Takes away the hassle of cords in the car. And then looking a bit further out, long-range charging.
Long range, you mean not having to put the phone directly on a pad?
Exactly. Using technologies like resonant or maybe even radio frequency to charge devices from a short distance.
Wow, okay. Like charging across the room eventually.
Oh, maybe not across the room just yet, but certainly with more flexibility than direct contact. Think charging without perfect alignment.
That could be a game changer. And you mentioned multi-device charging earlier. That seems like a big trend too.
Absolutely. We all have more devices now, right?
Yeah.
Phone, watch, earbuds. So Charging pads that can handle 2 or 3 items at once are becoming really popular. Samsung had one back in September 2020 that could charge 3 things simultaneously.
Right, simplifying the charging station clutter. So who are the companies actually making all this happen? Who are the key players?
It's a really competitive space. You've got big global names and also more focused regional players. The report lists quite a few.
Like who?
Let's see, Belkin International, Convenient Power HK, Energous Corporation, Osea, Plugless Power, PowerCast, PowerMet Technologies, Renesas Electronics, Samsung Electronics, Texas Instruments, Whitetricity.
Okay, that's a lot of names. A mix of chip makers and consumer brands. What's their main focus? What are they competing on?
Innovation mostly. Faster charging is a big one, making it work better for multiple devices, and exploring those different technologies, inductive resonant RF, to see what works best for different applications.
And it's not just about charging phones, right? You mentioned Goal Zero earlier with power stations.
Yeah, Goal Zero LLC. In January 2020, they brought out their Yeti X line of lithium power stations. Think of them as alternatives to gas generators, but cleaner.
Okay. And the wireless charging connection.
The interesting part is that these big power stations themselves can actually be charged wirelessly.
Really? That's surprising.
It is. It just shows how the technology is expanding beyond the usual small electronics. It points to the versatility.
That's a great example. Okay, let's zoom out. Where is all this growth happening geographically?
Right now, North America is the biggest market. It holds over 40% of the global revenue for 2025.
40%. Wow.
Yeah, the market size there is estimated at USD $286 million for 2025. The U.S. alone is huge, about $2,277 million.
Why so dominant? Just early adoption?
Pretty much. High adoption rates for new tech, strong infrastructure, lots of tech companies based there.
Okay. What about Europe?
Europe's significant too. Over 30% of the global revenue, that's about USD $2,262 million in 2025. Germany is a major market within Europe, around $448 million.
So North America and Europe are the current heavyweights.
They-
You mentioned rapid growth earlier. Where's that happening fastest?
Asia Pacific, APAC, that's the region to watch.
Okay. What kind of growth are we talking?
The report projects a CAGR of 23.7% for APAC from 2025 to 2033. That's the fastest globally. The market size in 2025 is about $1,872 million USD.
And within APAC, which countries?
China's a huge driver, obviously, about $786 million in 2025. India is also a key growth market, around $187 million. It's driven by rapid tech adoption, massive smartphone use.
That growth rate in APAC is really something. Definitely signals where a lot of the future market expansion will be. What about other regions? South America, Middle East, Africa?
Yep, they're growing too. South America has a market size of about $296 million in 2025, with a strong CAGR of 21.4%. Brazil is a big player there.
Yeah.
The Middle East is around $172 million in 2025, growing at about 20.9% CAGR. Saudi Arabia is notable there. Africa has a smaller share currently, maybe 1% globally, around $312 million in 2025. But the potential is there. It's showing a solid CAGR of 22.0%.
So growth is pretty widespread, but APAC is really setting the pace. Okay, let's drill down a bit more into the actual products and technologies. What kinds of wireless chargers are most popular?
Right now, power mats seem to hold the largest share.
The flat pads you put stuff on?
Yeah, probably because they're convenient for charging multiple devices or different types of devices.
Yeah.
But the fastest growing segment is quick chargers.
Okay, like ones using the Qi standard?
Exactly. Qi, pronounced Qi, is the dominant standard. And people want faster charging for their phones, so that segment is booming.
So versatility is popular, but speed is driving the growth. Makes sense. And the tech behind them, you mentioned inductive and resonant.
Yes, inductive is the most common right now. That's the one requiring close contact phone right on the pad. It's well established, efficient at close range.
Got it. And resonant.
Resonant allows for a bit more distance, more flexibility in placement. That's why it's seen as important for things like EVs, or maybe charging through a thicker surface. And it's actually the fastest growing technology segment.
Ah, interesting. So more potential for future applications. What about power levels, wattage?
The biggest slice of the market is in the up to 15W category.
Which we said is good for most personal electronics.
Right. Phones, earbuds, stuff like that. But the 16W to 50W segment is growing fastest.
Why the move to higher power?
Just the demand for quicker charging times, especially as batteries get bigger or for devices like tablets or maybe laptops eventually.
Yeah.
Mid-range devices, some wearables.
Okay, faster and faster. So finally, where are these chargers being used most? Applications and industries?
Well, no surprise, smartphones and tablets are the dominant application. That's where most of the volume is.
What?
But, as we keep saying, electric vehicles are the fastest growing application. It really highlights that shift beyond just our pockets and desks.
And the end-use industries reflect that.
Exactly. Consumer electronics is the biggest industry using this tech, but automotive and transportation is the fastest growing industry segment, again, driven by EVs.
It really feels like those two forces, personal convenience and vehicle electrification, are the twin engines here. Okay, let's try to wrap this up. What are the main takeaways for everyone listening?
I think the first thing is that this isn't some small niche market anymore. It's big, billions of dollars big, and it's expanding really, really quickly.
Yeah, that 20.6% CAGR is serious momentum.
And it's fueled by things we all understand. Wanting convenience with our gadgets and this massive shift towards electric vehicles.
And the sheer scale is kind of amazing, isn't it? Going from roughly $8 billion in 2025 to nearly $35 billion by 2033, that's just a huge jump.
It really is. And also, seeing regions like Asia Pacific growing so fast, it tells you where a lot of the future demand and innovation might be centered.
So for you listening, just think about your own devices. How many already support wireless charging?
Chances are it's an increasing number, and that's only going to accelerate. It's changing how we power everything, from our phones to potentially our cars.
Which brings us to a final thought. We talked about long-range charging development. Imagine, truly, a world without cables.
Yeah, where you walk into a room and your devices just start charging automatically. No pads, no plugs needed within a certain area.
What would that actually mean for how we design our homes, our offices, even our cities, if power was just ambient?
It's a pretty wild thought, isn't it?
Yeah.
Definitely something to mull over as this technology keeps evolving and weaving itself deeper into our lives.